The show on the road here. Are we tape running?
Recording in progress.
I guess it is. All right, so this is the Green Bay Housing Authority meeting for Thursday, June 20, 2024. It is 10:30. We have roll call electronically. We'll move to item number C, approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, or any additions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to approval of the minutes of the March 14, 2024 meeting of the Green Bay Housing Authority.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second
We have a second. Are there any additions, corrections, or modifications to that document? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to regular business, item E, 1, consideration and possible action to approve allowing NeighborWorks Green Bay to split parcel 14-646, which is the tax ID number for that parcel, in which GBHA holds a lien. And I see that Noel is here. I would move to open the floor to allow Noel to tell us what's going on.
I'll second that.
A motion and second to open
We
the
did.
floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Noel, bring us up to date. Let us know what's going on.
Mr. Chairman. It's been a minute since I've been before the Green Bay Housing Authority.
Yes, it's been a while.
Welcome.
Thank you for your service. The action we're requesting is it goes back to work we did in the mid-aughts to renovate the property at 437 South Jackson Street. As you know, that's the location of our offices at our homeownership center. As I noted in our request, the Green Bay Housing Authority, the Brown County Housing Authority, many members of the public donated money to help us renovate that building, get it occupied, and we've been there since. And since we moved in there in 2006, we've helped almost 14,000 households understand the path to homeownership. We've helped 2,391 area families purchase homes. And we renovated or built 257 dwelling units since that time. So thank you for the partnership. The land itself, so when we did that, we had 437 South Jackson and 815 Chicago Street as separate tax parcels. And your loan was made to help us, develop that homeownership center at 437 South Jackson. In the years in between, that property at 815 was developed by a subsidiary, the Urban Partnership Community Development Corporation. Some of you may remember you had some financing in that building at one point to help us develop that building as housing. We took a different path ultimately, and we moved that debt completely separate from the $100,000 at 437 South Jackson. And now that loan from you was secured by real estate on the west side of the city that's operating as housing over at the Westbridge Apartments. And so there was nothing that the Housing Authority had in terms of that property in Chicago until we consolidated the two parcels a few years ago for various reasons, primarily because NeighborWorks owned both of them. Again, the Urban Partnership Community Development Corporation deeded it back to us, and we just consolidated the parcels. Now we need to deconsolidate the parcels. We need to split the parcels because we have an interested buyer. As you might recall, we tried to develop a fish hatchery in that building. That fish hatchery is actually still operating.
Wow.
And the fellow who's been operating it and who's built a pizza shop in there, not for dining in, but he's got takeout pizza. He and his investors are trying to buy that building so that they can continue the operation of Perch, do other things in there. It might be, arts related or other sorts of activity or programming that he'll work with the city on to make a reality. But in order to separate these two parcels again, anybody who's got a loan on now the combined real estate has to sign off.
Yeah.
And so we're not actually taking any money out in this sale. We're just trying to stop some bleeding.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, there was originally about $750,000 worth of primary debt ahead of you when we first did the 437 South Jackson. After the dust settles from this transaction, there'll be about $90,000 of bank debt on the 437 South Jackson, the Housing Authority loans, and that's it. And the Housing Authority loans are actually in primary position over the bank debt, so, and they're not proposing to change that in this process.
So how is the pizza?
Pizza's fantastic.
I heard it's really good.
It's really good. It's takeout only, but pepperboy.com, say it on the record. I don't get any consideration for that, but no, it's really tasty pizza.
They have fish pizza.
Fish pizza.
From the fish farm.
Someday, he aspires for perch tacos or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're good pizzas. It's a wood-fired. It's got 2 wood-fired pizza ovens in there, and cooking on stone. It's pretty.
What's the name of it again?
Pepperboy.com.
Okay.
That was a straight up kick.
All my family's gone, I don't have anything to do for lunch today.
So, as I said, we're just asking you to certify our CSM process. So we started that with the city and doing all the jumping through all those hoops. And the last hoop for us to jump through is really to get our creditors to say it's okay to do this. Your loan will then be on 437 South Jackson. We had an appraisal on that building a couple of years ago. The value was $930,000 at that time. It's a fully occupied, fully leased building, except for the portion that we occupy. And I think it's got plenty of value to secure your continued $100,000 loan.
Any questions for Noel?
I just know Director Renier-Wig isn't unable to be here today, but after reviewing all this information and speaking directly with Noel, she's very confident as we will maintain that primary position on the lien. So we highly recommend moving forward and agreeing to NeighborWorks' request today.
Well, I will make that motion.
I'll second that. Do you close the floor first?
What's that? Oh, yeah, so we'll close the floor first. I'll make that motion to close the floor.
I'll second that.
We have a motion second to close the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Motion carries, and then I will make the motion to allow the split to go forward and
I'll second that.
keep the lien the way it was for this. So.
Thanks, Noel. Thanks for everything you do.
Again, thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Oh, wait, let's
let's vote on it first.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Noel.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I should mention while he's still here. My son lives out in the Seattle area, and they get the Seattle newspaper, and there was an article in the paper about one of the best places to live in the country, Green Bay, Wisconsin. And it said, one of the captions for the article was, "Great place to live because of great schools, great affordable housing," and a bunch of other things that they mentioned. We were right up on top.
Yeah.
Affordable housing, so. And it was just
Perfect.
like a local article in the Seattle newspaper, so.
They cut it out and send it to us.
Yeah.
Or Google it now.
Okay, so moving on to item number 2, consideration with possible action to approve the GBHA operating budget and budget resolution number 2024-02 for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024.
All right.
Step.
Well, the budget and the information was all sent out to you beforehand. If you had noticed anything drastically changing, that would be Mason Manor is no longer there. Because as of November 30th of 2023, they were moved to a different entity, so we no longer budget for them. The requirements for HUD, though, is since we are still a housing authority, we still need to create a budget and have it approved every year. So really our budget is for the COCC, which is the Central Office Cost Center, which houses the administrative portion of the housing authority, which is my salary, Cheryl's salary, a small portion of your salary, and then office supplies, that kind of stuff. We used to be funded by fees that we got from Mason Manor and scattered sites, but we won't receive those anymore, but we will receive some fees from the enterprise, well, the new entity, which is the LLC. We do receive a management fee from there. And we also As far as I know right now from HUD, we are receiving asset repositioning fees for just scattered sites. Mason Manor is not eligible, but we will receive those, and that'll help offset the loss of that income from the fees we were charging Mason Manor and scattered sites. With that also, the other big change is our revenue bonds. They're increasing their revenue by $100,000 because the cell towers did not move. The cell tower income did not move to the new entity that was built that way by Gorman. So that revenue stays within GBHA, and we're putting it into our revenue bonds area because it's an unrestricted area, because those funds are unrestricted.
So is that in any of the documents for changeover that the housing authority keeps?
That dollar value wasn't accommodated in the
It was
contracts
not,
anywhere?
and that, it was not accounted for when they did their information. It was omitted from there so that it was remain with the housing authority.
Nice.
And that benefited us.
That benefited us
It's a huge
greatly.
benefit for us to keep it with GBH.
I understand that. I guess the question I'm raising is that Mason Manor is, we don't own that anymore, right?
But it's all cleared through, Enterprise knows about this and is okay with this.
Yeah, I'm just looking for, is there a document that says this structure is owned by whoever, but the operations and the revenues from the revenues from the cell towers stay with the housing authority?
As far as I know, Gorman took care of all of that.
Okay.
But we can definitely bring that to the next board meeting,
Yeah.
just to, we can verify with Kyle Kakutta, with
Yeah.
Gorman.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking that, you know, if we technically don't own it, what right do we, there should be some document
Right.
somewhere that says that those cell tower, and if there's a problem with the cell tower,
Yeah.
who deals with it?
Right.
I think the cell company owns the tower itself, right?
Yep. They're leasing, they're
yes.
leasing airspace is what they're
Right.
leasing from
Well,
us.
but they're leasing space on the roof or the side of the building or wherever they're located. And so if there's a problem, do they look to us or do they look to,
Depends who's having the problem.
well,
If they're
right.
having if it's not functioning, they contact us, internal staff, to get on the roof and access.
Right.
We have been doing our due diligence because all 4 of the lease towers do have to relocate during the roof process of when
Yeah.
the roof is being replaced.
Mhm.
So I believe that there has been good communication between both companies of who's.
And again, I'm just
Yeah.
looking to make sure there's some documentation that says, even though the housing authority doesn't own Mason Manor
Yeah,
anymore,
correct.
that we have the responsibility, or what our responsibilities are for those cell tower things. You know, I mean, just think about it, if you, you know, we're owning a building that somebody else has cell towers.
yeah.
You know, or vice versa.
Rented space of a
we have-
rented building on
We're
ground
leasing
that
out, we're leasing out cell tower space, because that's what we're getting paid for, on a building we don't own. That sounds like a interesting deal.
Relative to the recommendation and the actual thing we're voting on, which is the operating budget,
Yeah.
what is your statement?
My question is just to follow up to make sure that we have the supporting documentation to make sure that we are able to legally claim that revenue.
Which makes sense to me, but you need this by July 1. So do you want to?
No, I would still move to approve this. I just, you know, just as a.
That we
Legal
have some
standpoint.
documentation
Yeah,
on
that-
file.
Yes, so we have some
I agree.
documentation to support this.
To support what we were told by Gorman, in
Yes.
essence.
Yes,
Okay.
and it may be in some of the documents, say, yeah, it's in paragraph 37 or whatever, but we just need to have something in,
Okay.
we should have it in whatever file we have for cell tower lease. There should be something in there that says, yeah, housing authority doesn't own this building anymore, but under these provisions, we are responsible. And then again, what is our responsibility? So if,
Usually the responsibilities are all spelled out in the lease
The
agreement.
leases that we have, yeah.
yeah, but the leases that, again, we go back
Right.
in a circle here. The lease we have is that the housing authority leased space to them
From a building they owned.
on a building that
That
we
we
used to
still-
own.
But we still own the property, so I think that that's what Gorman went
Could be.
went with.
That might
The
be the
land
answer.
itself is still the housing authorities, and
Yeah,
that's
but
what they,
the building on which the cell towers are located is not.
I didn't create the I
I
just
know. I'm just asking that we have supporting
Yeah.
documentation in a file somewhere that says, oh yeah.
It's okay.
It's this kind of an unusual circumstance, and let's make sure we got all the i's dotted and t's crossed, so.
right.
Okay, so any other questions on the budget for the housing authority? Anything else from you, Stephanie, to add to it?
No, we have some reductions, you know, which is good, but.
Okay, so I will move to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the 2024 budget, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None? Motion carries. All right, so now, let's see, consideration with possible action to approve Green Bay Housing Authority and Mason Manor updated design logos.
So yes, a few months ago, well, I think we've been budgeting it for a couple of years that our design and logo for Mason Manor and GBHA are quite outdated and don't reflect what we are currently doing. So staff, Cheryl, and myself, and our public art coordinator, we sent out a design request to a couple of the design specialists that the city has worked with in the past. Sam Design Company came back with the lowest and responsive bid. So we have been working with her for the past couple of months. She brought quite a few different design aspects to the table at first. They just weren't right. They didn't depict our houses the way they are with the older houses. There was more newer houses. We're like, no, you gotta tweak that. The roof slope isn't that. So we went back and forth quite a few times. So for the Green Bay Housing Authority logo in itself, we have quite similar designs, but page 1 and 2, we can kind of decide which one that we want to go forward in having our Housing Authority logo.
Rebranding.
I mean,
Rebrand.
this is a board decision, yeah?
It is a board decision. Yeah. So again, they are very similar, but, you know, we made sure the lines and the roof peaks, just simple things, but big picture that we wanted to be.
Yes.
So those are the two for the Green Bay Housing Authority that we would like to decide on for today. And working with Gorman and Company, these will be like our signs going forward and logos, and then the signage outside of our building will be for the next ones as well. Anybody have input, thought?
I'm never very good at this kind of stuff. So,
So Jamie, are you looking for us to make that decision on what logo?
Yes, we wanted to have a collaborative conversation today to see and have the board input of what logo they prefer. We are looking page 1 and 2, Sandy.
Okay.
And
the
it
only
has,
difference I see is the color.
yeah,
Yeah, that's.
yeah.
That's it?
For that one, yeah, it's pretty similar. It would be page 19 and 20 in your packet, Sandy.
So I'm looking at them through the website, and one is Mason Manor and one is GBHA.
So we are just
So I'm
deciding,
seeing 2 colored ones, black scale with 1 color white, 1 color black, gray scale. So is that what you're talking about?
are you in the packet right now, Sandy?
I'm online in everything that's up online.
Okay, so if you go to page 19 and 20, it's very similar design. We're just, page 21, 22, 23, those are just informational, so we can show how the grayscale and like a 1 color black inverted and a 1 color white inverted comes through.
Okay.
If we needed to just print black and white. So page 19 and 20, again, they're very similar designs. It's
Okay,
a
now I'm in
brighter, more
the
dull.
packet, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we want to be bright or dull?
I don't know if do you guys have a preference? Because you're gonna be looking at it every day?
That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Okay.
I think my personal opinion, if anybody cares, would be number 1. I like
Stands out
the
more.
yeah, it stands out more.
That works
So
for
the
me.
very first one on page 19?
Correct. It's yours.
Well, of the two options, I prefer the brighter one.
Okay.
That's statement. I also, where are we relative to the rest of the authorities and commissions and any of them that have their own branding? And do we care about, right, like the city of Green Bay's emblem crosses a whole pile of branding for commissions and authorities throughout this whole building. Are we anywhere near any of them, and do we care?
Well, I would say as a separate entity, like Metro and Water Utility, they would have their own
Yeah, they
separate,
do.
that's not
Green Bay,
cohesive to
the water
them.
utility just, well, not just like about 2 years ago,
Mhm.
went through a rebranding. It's still popping up, so they're,
Yeah.
putting new logos on trucks and that kind of stuff. But, yeah, they went through it. They started probably about 5 years ago, and they're still kind of wrapping it up yet.
Mhm.
So is there someone
Sorry.
in this facility
Can you
that
step in here for a
minds
minute?
that across the board, or
I'm
does
sorry.
everybody kind of just get to do what they want to do?
Because we're a separate entity, we wouldn't have to adhere to the city's color palette and everything like that.
Okay.
Because we are our own entity.
Sure.
So I don't think that even ever came up, really.
No, and I think this is more or less for like our specific letterhead, so we are not using the city of Green Bay, we can differentiate from this.
Yeah, and my
And
recollection,
clothing.
we had that question come up when Green Bay, when the water utility was doing theirs, and it was like, hey, you're on your own, you're a separate entity, the city doesn't have sort of a logos arm that oversees and approves all of this stuff. Each entity is up to its own, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No, I would do it.
You want to be the smart?
Yeah, no, I don't. Then I guess I like the brighter one. I mean, these two options.
Well, then I'll make the motion that we go with number one, the brighter one. The Bright Housing Authority.
Page number 1. So
I'll
then,
second that motion.
okay, we can do two separate things. Are we gonna do fully vote on that one, or should we just do?
Do we have a
You
second?
need a second?
Aaron?
Oh, Aaron,
Yeah.
okay. We've got a motion and a second to approve item number 1 on that packet, the brighter one.
Page number 1.
All
Option
in
number
favor
1.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Hearing none, motion carries. We are the bright one.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so then for the Mason Manor design, again, very similar designs, just different color palettes. What's that?
I asked them if they wanted to see that one.
Oh, here's your options. Yep, thank you, Erin. But yeah, this one went back and forth quite a few times. We really wanted to enhance the circle ramp as it is so eclectic and historic to
Sure.
Mason Manor. So we really played with those lines, emphasized it. The trees were right, the way the building was shaped. So yeah, that one, we went back and forth quite a few times on the specific Mason Manor one.
So, why's it different orange?
Different color palette.
So we can always make that recommendation.
That's
Yeah.
ominous looking, and we don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess my preference would be that the palette would be closer to consistent with the house.
Would you like us to go back to the design specialist to see if we can make that, the orange sunrise, the same color? I'm sure Sam would be able to do that.
I'm okay with that. Sounds okay to me.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
So option number 2, and we'll match the sun color in the background as close to option number 1 as possible from the Green Bay Housing Authority.
I do like the helix.
So we'll like,
Yeah, it's sweet. A little snow globy, that's fun, yeah, right on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like it the same color.
Okay, so I'll make that motion that we go with number 2, but we change the color palette for the sun background to match the Housing Authority one that we previously approved.
okay?
Sorry about that long motion.
Okay.
We have a second to that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to informational GBHA bills in your packet.
Those are in the packet. They are for March, April, May, so you haven't met. If you had noticed, there's not a lot going on because the housing authority itself doesn't cut many checks anymore.
No.
Any questions on any of the ones that are going through there?
No.
No.
All right. Any further questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the GBHA financial report.
So are there any questions on that? I know if you look at, there's a little frowny face for Mesa Manor, but that is because we had to move money out for the renovation, so it'll get more frowny as we go.
Yeah. And any questions on the financial report? All right. We will then move on to the director's report.
So yes, I just have the Mason Manor update, which, holy moly. So we are actually moving 10 households today and tomorrow. We have 3 on the first floor that will be moving or relocating to their permanent unit, and then 7th on second floor. And then in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will be occupying third floor. On the north end, that has 10 units, and then 4th floor a week or 2 after that, which has 10 units. Very exciting stuff. I know Casey sent out a calendar invite that we are going to have an open house this afternoon. It's a very short time frame because we are going to look in a unit, and then within the next hour, we're going to move some tenants in. So please join us if you are free from 2 to 3. Come have some ice cream, see a unit. But yeah, 2 of the units on first floor, Sandy, are the accessible units, and then 1 is just normal rentable apartment. Really exciting stuff.
Yeah.
We have air conditioning, we have a generator on site to maintain health, life and safety. It's been a lot of work and it's been really fun, but we have our relocation specialist on site this week just helping coordinate the moves with the movers for our families.
So any issues or concerns being brought up by the residents?
They're just ready to see the units because
okay.
it's been in a
Yeah.
construction area, so they may have peeped their head in during nights or weekends when we're not here. But they're just really excited to see them. They all want to move right now, but their units are just not quite ready yet. So, but yeah, once we, occupy 4th floor, 5th floor is already being demoed. So 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th on the north end. They're kind of projecting end of October, early November for occupancy, and
Oh, all right.
we are moving very fast.
Good. And otherwise, it's generally on track, on schedule, from what they had projected before?
Yes, yep.
Good.
So Jamie and Kai can't make it this afternoon. Could I call sometime and just have you tour me?
We can show you, Sandy, our office, but any of the renovated units are going to be occupied this afternoon and tomorrow.
Oh,
So, yep, there's a very short time frame of when they turn them over to us, and we are leasing them up
Sure.
within an hour so we can get those certified. So,
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
All right, anything else for the director's report? No? Okay. Then moving on to the occupancy report.
so I guess there's nothing notable. We have roughly 40 units right now, and that is just to play the occupancy, so nobody is, permanently displaced out of the building. So we are just maintaining our units, and hopefully next year, we are shuffling a lot, but hopefully next year, when we get to quadrant 3 and 4, we'll start pulling in new people from our community and offering a brand new unit.
All right.
Is that a process that we have to start thinking about soon?
We are, so we are working with Gorman's relocation and occupancy specialists. So they are assisting us with tax credit certifications. So they are helping us with that process as it's a little bit more timely.
Yeah.
And then ICS, Integrated Community Solutions with Brown County, maintains our waiting list because of the voucher situation. So the 3 of us entities have a working Excel that we're constantly just working off of, which makes life a lot easier. But
So is that waiting list going?
Oh, yeah. So COP recently purged our wait list for Mason Manor, so we sent out mass letters, hey, are you still interested? Have you moved? We probably went down from like 40 to like I don't know, 20?
So it was about 70 apps, and then we went down to like 30.
Like
Okay.
30.
And then if you added with Integrated Community Solutions and their application, since they're maintaining the wait list, it's 700 right now.
yeah, so we updated our waiting list for of the applicants. to make sure we had the correct, phone numbers, mailing addresses, emails. And so once we had a very good workable waiting list, that's when we merged it with their waiting list. So
So on the one-bedroom project wait list, there's 740 applications on
Yes.
that wait list. So those people all pass like ICS's background
Yep.
check.
Yep.
Now we just have to go and pull and do our background checks.
Wow.
Do you guys get to move in your office soon?
it's being,
Hopefully.
it's being used as a storage area right now,
Okay.
so.
I saw that yesterday, that other room as you walk in the door.
Our office? Or-
No,
Oh, our.
where you guys have
Our
the library?
office?
Was that the library?
Oh, the library,
thing?
yeah.
Where we had the meetings with
Oh,
that person? Yeah, I saw they were working on that yesterday.
Oh, yes, that, and then, yeah, the new mailbox room or mail room. We're very excited.
Sounds like lots of progress. Great.
You couldn't tell just walking in there, the progress.
There are no questions
That's
here.
not true.
Yeah.
So we've effectively privatized our stock, right? Can we add to it? What? like-
For public housing units?
Yeah.
Yes, so we still have our fair clock with HUD. We still have our 240 rental units as we pulled all of those units out of public housing. So we did not close out our housing authority. That's why Steph gets to continue to create budgets and run numbers and reports every year. So those units are available to us at any time. They would have to be like a new build if they're public housing units. But underneath, we could essentially purchase a fourplex, a duplex, and project-based it, and then we could get the Section 8 vouchers on it. So we definitely have availability to purchase.
When was the last time we added?
When we created the
Scattered.
housing authority.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, when the housing authority was created,
So like 30 years.
71, 50 plus.
I don't do math in front of people.
I mean,
I think it's sort of the long-term strategic planning for
Yes,
this, that
absolutely.
getting through this conversion was the first step to allow us to build up the finances.
Yes.
To be able to do that, because we talked about it before. I mean, going back to one of the
Right.
very first meetings that I went to back in the early 2000s, where I was talking about expanding scattered sites and stuff. We never had the money,
Correct.
or the resources, and I
Or the fair
don't-
clock units, yeah. when-
Right, and so this will give us the ability to do that.
This is the start of the path.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I saw a presentation recently from the Washington DC Housing Authority, and it was geared specifically to my industry, right? Like they're talking architects, but I mean, HUD's push for RAD poured $400 billion into housing
Mhm.
money, right? Like, let's buy some freaking houses.
Yeah. So Mason Manor is currently split on RAD and Section 18.
Understood.
Yep.
That way, like detail.
Yeah, so, yeah, so, yeah, our local field office is really pushing to get out of public housing. That's like the route HUD headquarters is going, because of the funding just isn't there. But when you put like a RAD or a Section 18 or a Section 8 voucher on these units, it's just financially more responsible for housing authorities to maintain and.
Fine, all of
But
that.
our goal
All
is
that's good,
absolutely
right,
to
but
develop
we've
more
got the
affordable housing, because
Same
there
amount of
is.
properties we've had since the 70s, and we've just made a shift, and now we have an opportunity to figure out how to do.
Yeah,
more.
that is definitely our goal, the city of Green Bay's goal is to, affordable housing is a
So
significant
that
need
brings
right
up a
now.
question in my mind. The redevelopment authority, they do some rehabs on houses and stuff too. What happens to those houses when they get rehabbed?
So a lot of those, like if they're with VaporWorks, sometimes it'll be for someone who is looking to buy the house afterwards. Sometimes they are rental units. But a lot of the rehabs that the RDA does are, people own them. So we're bringing something that's a problem, either up to code or fixing a nuisance property. So a lot of them are already
Their
owned.
tools are tax incentives.
Yeah,
right, like-
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they don't have any like inventory that we could access.
The inventory that they have is vacant properties, is vacant land, so we would have to buy on it.
Build on it.
Yeah, so, and the only one that really can do some of that with the funds is NeighborWorks right now, because they're the only one that's qualified as a CHODO, which is a
right.
specialized type. right now in Green Bay. Not to say that the Housing Authority could not become a CHOTO and
Establish a
levy
relationship.
some of that to help build houses. It's just not a path at this point that we really want to take.
It's a goal.
Yes.
It's a
Well,
goal.
what about a partnership with NeighborWorks?
I mean,
And
and
then
that's,
to jump on with that, this is Sandy, so is Gorman's Apartments ready on the east side, going to be ready? Is there a timeline on that?
If you're is it Bay City out on the east side, I believe?
I think so.
From the memo that we got from Gorman, those look like they're gonna be available for rentable, units end of, September, early October.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because they had contacted me to find out if we had anybody interested, but I didn't think they were done yet.
Yes,
So they are looking towards the end of September for occupancy.
to my knowledge, yeah.
Good to know.
So, well, at least, I mean, that's a good question, because that's something that, we always have to think about.
Future thinking.
What can we do more to facilitate, more that sort of housing that we can, benefit people with.
affordable housing's always in need.
Okay.
Bill, very good thoughts.
Didn't it start with somebody who said?
It did.
that's a
I think it
dumb
did
question?
start.
It was a rhetorical question.
Oh, yeah. We are moving on. So our last agenda item before adjournment is, next meeting is July 18th, assuming again at 10:30. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Yeah, motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned, and then we start meeting number 2. All right, let me flip my page here. All right, so it is 11:07, and we'll call to order the meeting for the GBHA Properties 1 Incorporated for June 20, 2024, starting at 11:07 a.m. Roll call we have electronically. Item C, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for the June 20, 24 meeting of GBHA Properties 1 Incorporated?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Aaron. Any additions, corrections, or modifications? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item D, approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes of the January 18, 2024 meeting of the GBHA Properties 1 Inc. Are there any additions or modifications to those meeting minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion that.
I have a motion, and I'll second.
I'll second.
We got a second from Sandy, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Regular business, consideration with possible action to approve GBHA Properties 1 Incorporated operating budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024.
All right, so if you had looked at the budget that was in the packet, there's not much to it, because along with Mason Manor moving, Scattered Sites moved the end of November to the new entity. I did, because this still owns the property underneath all the Scattered Sites, we do keep the checkbook and everything like that, so we're recording interest, and then we are continuing for some board insurance
Okay.
to cover you guys under this entity.
Yes.
So that is the only two things I have on this budget at this time. Pretty
So
simple.
what kind of insurance are we gonna get?
It's the same one that we had. It's with the housing risk.
HAI.
Yeah,
Housing
Yep.
Authority insurance.
Yep.
Okay.
So they're keeping that insurance with this entity.
So it just splits between the two entities?
No, it doesn't. GBHA, their insurance is actually through CIVMIC because
Oh,
they're
yes.
covered underneath the city's
Yep, public, yep.
policy and the public entity. Because this isn't that, we have our own policy.
Okay.
And we will continue to carry that.
Okay. Is that errors and omissions, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It throws me every time I get it because it says board insurance and I'm like, what kind of board are?
Yeah, that would be errors and omissions, yeah. Okay, very good. Anything else?
Nope, and I went low on interest. Interest is actually doing really well this year.
Any questions?
Make a motion to approve.
You have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Financial report.
That was in the packet. Are there any questions?
None for me.
All right. It's pretty.
Those are the kind of financial reports I can read and understand.
How about if I ask if there's anything for you to report on?
Well, there really isn't much because right now, because there's not much going on, I'm just recording interest. A few small things. We still have, really the most movement that we have under these accounts is that I have to put things into a liability account and then move it out of the liability account because we're still getting some payments into our old system, which we haven't gotten completely moved over yet. So most I'm doing with that is just some bookkeeping, moving some things around to get it to the right account.
Okay. All right. I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah. This is informational? Yes, it's informational, so we don't need a motion. Never mind.
Okay.
Oh, I'll make a motion with her.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
Oh, shoot.
What?
I thought the director's report got pulled off of this one, sorry.
Ah, is there?
Well, I'll give you some information first. For our scattered sites. So in addition to doing Mason Manor all at once, we are also doing all of scattered sites at once. We have our subcontractor, RHD, who is working with Gorman, and every one of our scattered sites is getting central air put in. So, so every house is kind of designated for a week of remodel, whether the household gets to stay in the unit or they're relocated to a different unit for a week. But our contractor kind of worked ahead for the central air and new furnaces. So currently we have 24 households that currently have central air installed. Erin being one of them, she loves it this week. And with the central air install, we've also done furnaces, water heaters. So those are big ticket items that we've had accomplished so far. We've, for over 12 households, we are rotering and cammering the sewer lines so we can prevent future backups and cleaning those out. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly 6 houses completely done in the process. 516 North Ashland was a complete remodel, so that was flooring, paint, cabinets.
Wow.
Let me see it. That house was top down, or bottom up, completely remodeled, and now we're using that property as a relocation house. So our next household that's getting, so the household that's getting completed or needs to move out next week will relocate into 516. As some of these families are quite large, it would cost quite a bit of money for a hotel. So we're just kind of using those as temporary units, so we're not leasing those up. But yeah, we've done quite a few. Erin has been done. Internally, your house has been completely
Ours is
updated.
done.
Yeah.
Ours was he said ours was one of the first units
That we
with the
completed.
live-in that they completed. And they did really good. They were done in they got everything done almost in a day.
Wow.
And then they were there doing odds and ends, a couple of them, like the air conditioner coming
Sure.
back, 3 days total.
Wow.
And it was nice, in and out.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But yeah, I think they've been really good to work with and really easy, just
Yes.
communication.
Yep.
Mike kind of our maintenance staff has been taking the scattered site role, and Lucas has been taking the Mason Manor role of kind of coordinating with the 2 different companies. But yeah, we are really rocking and rolling, and it's a lot of moving parts, but we're having fun.
It's been fun.
Yeah, there you go.
So Jamie, just a quick question for refresher.
Yep.
How many scattered sites do we have?
48.
48. And so right now 24 have central air?
Correct. Within the last month or 2, we have installed 24, and there's 2 or 3 every week that are getting it, and then if they are a complete move out, we'll hit them in the schedule the next 6 to 12 months. But if they're quick ones, a lot of those houses have been completed with families able to stay in place as the work gets completed.
Good. So my next question is, does that increase rent cost?
So so if you're referring to the tenants are still paying 30% of their income, and they're paying rent as they normally would to the household that they're going to finalize in. So if they're relocated for 2 or 3 days, they're not paying any expenses, they're just paying rent on the property that they are renting.
Correct. But I mean, so are you doing all these adaptations, so is their portion of rent going up?
No, 30% of income will be 30% of income.
Great.
Yep,
Good
so
to
rents
hear.
will remain the same, yep.
Wonderful updates.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you for the update. Wow.
Get moving. Start moving,
I'm
people.
gonna try this again. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second
We
that.
have a motion and a second adjourned. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you.
Maybe we have one this
Bye, all. Have a good
next
night.
spring.
Bye, Sandy.
Yeah, yeah, Airbnb that thing, let's make some money.
Yeah, let's make some money. Rent it out.